Hey everybody, and welcome back to Fed News, February 13th, 2024 edition, your fake figure wrestling news. Let's get started. So in wrestling news, in talks right now, Vader, Shane Douglas, Mitch, Johnny, and Mikey of the Spirit Squad are currently in talks to possibly sign on to the WWE Ultimate brand. Stay tuned for more as we find out. Over the match results for the week for the WWE, we had Rising Up with Simon System defeating Brian Pillman and the Singh brothers as they continue to try to get a victory. Demolition defeats Nasty Boys by pinfall. The main event would see Batista defeat Junkyard Dog by pinfall, as Batista was barred from the arena at the main show tonight, therefore picking up a victory over Junkyard Dog. The main show, though, would see debuting Val Venus defeat David Otunga. Bret Hart vs. Sean O'Haire has been announced for the main event. Batista was barred from the arena, as stated earlier. The Brainbuster defeated Rico and Charlie Haas by pinfall as they continue their winning ways. Triple H decided to take the rest of the night off after Piper assures Bret will get the Widowmaker from O'Haire. Psycho Sid would defeat Bill Goldberg. This became about when Goldberg missed his spear into the corner, knocking himself unconscious. And Macho Man Randy Savage defeats EC3 by pinfall. This came about when EC3 was bragging about how he's undefeated, and Macho Man was winless, starting in this company. The main event would see Bret Hart defeat Sean O'Haire by DQ after Piper stops the sharpshooter. Sean O'Haire, though, would end up hitting the Widowmaker on Bret Hart to end the show when he was distracted by Piper. And it has been announced that Bret Hart will face Roddy Piper for the Intercontinental Championship at Ground Zero. Over to AEW this week as Malachi Black and Brody King defeated Dustin Rhodes and Darby Allin by pinfall. The graphic again said one more is coming before going back to the screen. Miro defeats Wardlow by pinfall. Jurassic Express would defeat the Young Bucks by pinfall. Samoa Joe would defeat Wheeler Yuta by submission. And MJF would defeat CM Punk by pinfall in the main event. Over on Dark, however, Powerhouse Hobbs and Ricky Starks would defeat Brody Lee and Hook. And the Best Friends, Orange Cassidy, Trent, and Chuck Taylor would defeat Death Triangle. The main event would see Sammy Guevara defeat Adam Page. Over to IWGP this week as Chuck Palumbo and Mike Awesome decided to team up to defeat Chris Masters and Terry Murdoch by pinfall. Bill DeMott defeats Scotty Riggs by pinfall as he continues his winning ways. Snitsky would debut and defeat Lance Storm by pinfall in a non-title match. The main event would see Rene Dupree defeat Luther Reigns by pinfall. Over to NXT this week as Damian Priest defeats Big E by pinfall. Vader, who is in talks currently with WWE Ultimate, defeats Santo Escobar by pinfall. And the main event would see Sheamus, who was scheduled to face Braun Breaker, instead defeat Carmelo Hayes by pinfall after Breaker substituted himself out and gave the opportunity to Carmelo Hayes. Over on Impact now as Tensai defeats Kalisto in his debut. Cassius Ohno and Chavo Guerrero defeats Ezekiel Jackson Wade Barrett. This is coming after their main event match was Sabotage last week. Umaga would defeat Kyle O'Reilly, and the main event would see AOP and Alberto Del Rio defeat Sanity by submission when Del Rio would make Killian Dane tap out to the armbar. Over to Ring of Honor as this week they had their pay-per-view Bound by Honor as Andrade, Santana, and Ortiz defeats Dark Order of John Silver, Evil Uno, and Stu Grayson by pinfall, winning the ROH 6-man Tag Team Championship. Kip Sabian defeated Ultimo Dragon by submission to win the Pure Championship after 2 rounds. SCU defeats Butcher and Blade and Private Party by pinfall to win the Ring of Honor Tag Team titles. And Brian Cage would defeat Eddie Kingston, Danhausen, and Sean Spears by pinfall to win the ROH Television Championship. The main event would see Lance Archer defeat Bryan Danielson by pinfall to become the Ring of Honor World Champion. Nothing for the UWF this week. However, TNA did have a small show as D'Angelo Dinero defeated Shark Boy by pinfall. Rob Terry would defeat Hernandez by pinfall. And Magnus in the main event defeats James Storm by pinfall. No show for NWA or ORH or AAA or the World Wrestling Council or GCW. That's all for this week. Check back next week as we see the fallout of what's going to be happening as they prepare for Ground Zero in the Ultimate brand, as well as the backlash after Ring of Honor and any future other events.